back to bei ya mafuta kushuka. Wherever you are in this country, you'll be able to actually get mafuta, right? Drive into a petrol station and you'll find a licensed petrol station with mafuta. How does that mafuta get there? It's not come from your neighbor's shamba. It has come from somewhere. It landed at the port. It was transported. Kenya Pipeline is transporting all that mafuta to very many parts of the country. And that's why the MD, Joe Sang, is our guest for this hour. Good morning, Bona MD.
Good morning, Eric Latif.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
I'm honored to be here.
Karibu
as
sana.
I reflect on this journey.
Hey, 50 years of Kenya Pipeline. That's a long time. But you will tell us what that means.
Absolutely.
First, CT will welcome you with the day's proverb. As you know, he goes into one African country, mines proverbs, and then he comes with a proverb a day. This week, the proverbs are from?
Cape Verde.
Cape Verde.
Yes.
And you said it's not a landlocked country.
No. Archipelago. It's many islands put together. But it's actually on the Atlantic Ocean. You know, sometimes we forget that this is one continent that is traversed by two water bodies, the Atlantic and the Indian Ocean.
And the Mediterranean up there.
Mediterranean, yes. A smaller body of water, but nonetheless, water body. Okay? Right. The proverb. Whoever tells the truth is chased out of 9 villages.
Whoever tells the truth is chased out of 9 villages. Bonasang. What's your interpretation of this proverb? You could use personal experience.
Yeah, it's City. I think you almost nailed it on the head about my journey. That I've been through it all. It's been up and down.
Yes.
But the truth finally vindicated me.
Yes.
And I can relate the story.
Whoever tells the truth is chased out of 9 villages.
Yes.
You know, the immediate assumption here is that there are 10 villages in total. So there is one that maybe welcomed him.
Yeah.
Right? So this is it. 50 years, Joe, of Kenya Pipeline.
Yes.
When we were starting this conversation earlier and we were teasing that you'd be coming, I actually said, it's 50 years of Kenya Pipeline Company. I don't know whether it's 50 years of a pipeline. I don't know what that means. What does it mean?
All right. It's such an honor to be here as you reflect on this remarkable journey for the last 50 years. First and foremost, we are, as you know, we are 100% owned by the government of Kenya. We are the only white oil petroleum pipeline in East Africa. Our mandate is to transport, store, and handle petroleum products across our installations. The company was started in 1973. Registration, 15th of September 1973. We are 50 years of doing this work in terms of ensuring security of supply of petroleum products across Kenya and the region. Today, we started with 4 employees. Today we boast of over 1,400 employees across the pipeline network. We run 1,342 kilometers of pipeline right from Mombasa, following the artery of the railway. Mombasa, Kamolde, Makindu, Nairobi, Ngema, Nakuru, Eldoret, and Kisumu. We have 7 loading depots. The major ones, we have Nairobi, where we load the check here, the jet fuel for the aeroplanes to fly. We also load in Nakuru. We load in Eldoret, and we load in Kisumu. We also have other major infrastructure over the last 50 years. From a single company, a small company, way back in 1973, we now have storage capacity close to 1 billion liters. The exact number is 953 million liters across our installation. What does that mean and why is that important? Today, in the event something happens and we are unable to have product in the country, we have stock cover of close to about 10 days using the storage capacity that we have. In Mombasa alone, we have 26 million liters at KPC oil storage terminal. In Nairobi, we have 133 million liters, and we also have storages in Nakuru, Kisumu, and Eldoret. So that's a journey. That's a journey in terms of we've grown from being very small. We're also very big in our corporate social responsibility. We are not just known about the huge pipelines that are buried, but also the soft things that we do. And in our CSR under Kenya Pipeline Foundation, we have our 3 key thematic areas. One of them is education, we have health, and we have empowerment. Allow me to touch on the 3 of them very highly. On our education pillar, which is a big one, we have Inuka, we call it Inuka program, which we work with students who are able differently from 47 counties. We started this program way back in 2017 during my time then. And every year we educate 2 students, a boy and a girl, to go through high school. We work very, very closely with the national persons of disabilities and the county governments. As I said, it cuts across Kenya, so it's 47 counties, 94 students. In terms of impact, today we've impacted close to 700 students in terms of paying their school fees and their uniforms. And now we are working on sustainability. How do we sustain to be able for them to be gainfully employed, to be able to go through tertiary and universities? And also we are looking to partner with like-minded corporates to be able to take some of these students so that they can be employed. The impact is huge because it's not just about the 700 students. We also talk about the families where they come from, the communities where they come from. So we are basically impacting thousands and thousands under that program. The second one, under the health pillar, we also play a big role in providing healthcare. We built hospitals in some of the needy areas. The other day we were in Portrees. Portrees, as you know, is next to Changamwe, and that's where our pipeline starts. We launched a newborn facility for mothers. It's now able to accommodate, and we were there with the governor of Mombasa. We were then able to see the impact it has caused in those newborn mothers. 6 months ago, we were in Kisumu, launching a similar facility for maternal, and we were very, very touched when our CS, Davis Chirchir, was the chief guest, and he was able then to open the banner. And the stories we had on the ground is the impact it has caused in terms of reduction of maternal deaths. And the last pillar is about empowerment. We do empower the communities along our right of way. As I talked about, the 1,342 kilometers of pipeline that runs across the entire nation. We have needy cases along our installations, and we do come in very handy in terms of supporting them, supporting the communities along the right of way. So we do classrooms, so we impact in terms of enabling them to, we build 1 or 2 classrooms for them to be able to take their kids to school. So the story of pipeline is a story of success.
It's a huge one.
It's a huge one.
Across many things.
For 50 years.
Recently, you gave a fat check to the government in terms of dividend. How much was it?
That's a good one. I'd like to say we are one of the top corporate or commercial taxpayers for this country. The check you saw was 5 billion shillings, and that is dividend to our government. Over the last 6 years, in form of taxes and dividends, we've actually paid 46 billion to our government. And this is to support the nation in terms of the government to pay the police, the teachers, and I'll say we are one of the top taxpayers as well as dividend payers to government. And we are striving to even pay more as we generate more.
Was this the highest that you've paid?
I'll say for the duration I have been, yes, it was the highest. And this is, we call it interim dividend.
So final dividend is obviously going to be...
We'll discuss once we have the financials out.
Let's see.
Thank you.
I think it's interesting because every time we hear Kenya Pipeline Company, obviously we know, okay, fuel gets from one place to the other. So in terms of mechanics, in terms of exactly what the company does and how it operates, I think Kenyans are very interested to understand to a further degree what happens. You talked about the pipe laying along the artery of
The railway.
Yes. So what exactly does this mean? I mean, in a very simple question that Kenyans are wondering, okay, so large ship docks at the port, what happens? Where does fuel go? And then how does this then now, what does it mean for every Kenyan that there's a pipeline and there's a Kenya Pipeline Company? And what does it mean when now fuel gets into the vehicle that I use or the public transport vehicle that I apply every day? The mechanics of this, what exactly does the company do?
Very great question. I'll try and make it very simple. Once the ship docks at the port of Mombasa, carrying, say, gasoline, within the first 1-2 hours, our officers go in there and take what you call a sample to be able to confirm some of the very basic parameters that we do measure. There's something called the flash points. There's something called so basically we have a number of parameters that we look at to confirm that it conforms with the East Africa standard. We also work closely with Kenya Bureau of Standards. And once it docks, after the sample has been confirmed that it conforms with the requirements of the nation, the ship is then allowed to discharge. Today, we have the new facility in Mombasa called the Kipevu Oil Terminal 2. It's able to discharge at the rate of 4 million liters per hour. So it discharges into our tanks. I've talked about we have 326 million liters in terms of the storage within the Kipevu Oil Terminal. Once it's discharged into the tanks, it's then allowed to settle in. After some few hours, it's then pumped. So we have the connection from the tanks into our line. The line here now is a pipeline. So we are able to pump that product at the rate of 1 million liters per hour. Our engineers did something spectacular the other day. And I'll shortly share about the team of the engineers that we have and the great work that they've been able to do over the period. The design flow rate of that in terms of how much you're able to flow the product is at 1 million. But they've been able to come up with an innovation. We're able to actually pump up to 1.3 milliliters per hour. Yes. So it comes with very, very high pressure. Products, we have the super, we have diesel, we have kerosene, and we have jet. We run a multi-product pipeline. So we use a technology called patching. Patching is basically, in a layman's term, it's sequencing. So you're able to put in, say, diesel. It comes in, you're able to track. So we're able to see in our system the diesel, how far it's flowing. And then we follow it with super. And then we cut it again. So because the diesel is the heavy product, we use it as a carrier. Once it gets into Nairobi, what it does is we're then able to take it into our tanks in Nairobi. Before the next product comes in, which is, for instance, we're receiving diesel, and we are getting super as the next product, there's something called interface, which is we don't allow our products to commingle, but there'll be a small extent of the mixture, a very small volume. So we have about 7-8 tanks called stops across our installations. These tanks are then able to put in the small portion of the product that mixes. And we use a system called, we are then able to inject it back into the tanks. Yeah, once it's rich, say it's rich in super or it's rich in diesel.
Yeah.
It's a science, but it's something we've done over the last, as I said, 50 years.
So there's no worry for mixing of
So there's no
products.
worry of mixing of product.
Okay.
It's called the interfacing.
What is this that you use to interface?
So basically, we are able to, as I said, let's say we're receiving
Diesel.
diesel, and we know there's super coming in. So that portion, before super is received, you channel it into a small tank. So it will be maybe 10,000 liters into a tank, and then through again the same quality specs, we're able to check, we reinject it back into, assuming out of 100,000, 99,000 is diesel. It will be reinjected back to the diesel.
To the diesel tank.
Okay.
We then able then to flow the product into Nakuru, Eldoret, Kisumu. You've asked a very fundamental question in terms of what is then our role. We have, in our system today, we have 127 oil marketers, right from Vivo, Total, Rubis, Starbucks,
Galana Energy.
Galana Energies, Calv, 127 of them. Ours is about transportation and handling. Theirs, they're interfacing direct. So they're able to pick the product from our depots. 60% of the products, today we receive close to about, through the port of Mombasa, it's a gateway, over 8 billion liters in a year. 60% of that is consumed locally in Kenya. The other 40% is consumed in our transit market of Uganda, Rwanda, South Sudan, DRC, Burundi, and to an extent Somali.
Okay.
When this thing has happened, so vessel has docked, you've done this whole thing, you've discharged, you've brought it to Nairobi. Is this happening 24 hours, or is there a period where you say, okay, so vessel docked yesterday, we have pumped that thing today, so on Thursday the pipeline is empty or idle?
It's 24 hours. So the
So you're
products-
constantly pumping.
Yes, and in the pipeline we have something called the line fill, and the line fill is what remains, what is permanently in the pipe, because at any one time you need to have fuel in there. So the product that comes in is over and above what is called line fill, what remains in the pipe,
Okay.
and we then supply this product to our oil marketing companies. The oil marketers then are able to pick from our depots.
So they can go then and pick it up from if it comes to
Nakuru,
Nairobi, Nakuru, Kisumu,
Kisumu,
wherever,
Eldoret.
they go pick it up, and that's what then shows up in the
Yes.
petrol station.
That's when now they put it to their petrol stations. So you go to a Vivo petrol station, you go to Total petrol station. That is the product they've actually picked from our pipeline.
Okay.
So the owner of the product is not Kenya Pipeline. The owner of the product is the oil marketing company. Ours is just transport, storage, and handling.
I'm interested to know this. Over time, in the last 50 years, clearly the demand for fuel has not decreased. It has continued to go up.
Absolutely.
Now, what changes have we made? What changes have we planned with the pipeline to accommodate this demand? Because what was built 50 years ago served an interest, I'm sure, for a projected period, because it was meant to project. Now, beyond that period, as the demand grows, what has Kenya Pipeline done to ensure that it continues meeting the demand?
Good question, City. For the last 50 years, we've done major infrastructure projects. When the pipeline was built in 1973, that's when we started building the what we call the line one pipeline. It took us close about 4 years to complete it. In 1978, it's when it started transporting oil from Mombasa to Nairobi. It's a 450-kilometer line. That's a 14-inch. 14-inch means the diameter of the pipe is a 14-inch. Today, we replaced that line, having served its useful life for close to 40 years in 2018. And today, the 450-kilometer line from Mombasa to Nairobi, we are using a bigger diameter pipe to accommodate the increased volume we talked about. So it's able to flow. Initially, it was flowing at 750,000 liters. Today, we're able to flow it at between 1 and 1.3 million liters per hour to accommodate the increase. The petroleum sector, over the years, if you go back to look at the analysis and the reports over the years, it's been growing almost in tandem with GDP. The GDP growth in our country today has been at the rate of about 5 to 6%. The sector has been growing at between 3 to 4% over the years. Mm-hmm. It's only the last 1-2 years where we've seen a dip, which was mainly caused by right from the COVID time. Mm. But we've now started seeing again the demand is going up. So we've done a lot of investment in terms of the infrastructure. We've also done different lines. I just shared the 450-kilometer line from Mombasa to Nairobi. Mm. We've also enhanced capacity going into Western Kenya. We've done a line from the last 6 years. We did a line from Sinendet is past Nakuru, all the way to Kisumu to serve the region, 122 kilometer. And again, what we did was to put in a new line to be able to accommodate the increased demand. We've also invested in Kisumu oil jetty. The Kisumu oil jetty is using the natural resource, which is our lake, to transport fuel using the lake from Kisumu. The receiving jetty is in Entebbe. To date, we transported over 80 million liters of petroleum products using our natural resource. It's safe. The other day I was computing the number of trucks equivalent of using the jetty. It's over 3,000 trucks. And you'll be shocked, without the pipeline today, even from Mombasa to Nairobi, we are talking of over 30,000 trucks off our road. So
per day, per month, per year?
Per day.
30,000 trucks per day?
Yes. Exactly. The exact number is 22,500.
Every day?
Yes.
Wow.
So it means what we actually do for this country is remarkable. What our team of the engineers, the team that we have in Kenya Pipeline. I came from corporate, from East Africa Breweries, where I was for many years. And when I came into Pipeline, I was shocked to see the talent, the pool of people able to give service to this nation. People have been there for 30 years. People have been there for 40 years. People start coming in there as youth and living there when they are grandfathers and mothers for giving service to this nation. It's enormous. So to your question, we've done a lot of investments in line or in tandem with the growing demand for the petroleum. And soon we are going big. We want to increase even our footprint beyond Kenya. Right. In terms of how do we ensure we get 100% market. Today we serve close to about 90% of Uganda market. We serve 10% of Rwanda market and about 70% of South Sudan market. We want to get it big. We want to be able to serve a bigger percentage, 100% if possible, because of Uganda market, because the 10% they still get it through Tanzania. Yep. We want to serve a big percentage of the DRC, the coal mines. And we believe this is a company to watch in the coming years.
Let's take a break on that note. We'll be talking about these kind of investments that are needed then to make sure that you can cover all this region. 27 minutes to 8. Our guest this morning is Joe Sang. He is the managing director of Kenya Pipeline Company. This company has been in operation for 50 years, marking this milestone of 50 years of Kenya Pipeline. What's the impact that the company has had and what should we be looking forward to? In fact, you'll also tell us about this talent pool that you have.
Yes.
Let's celebrate them now that you're here, right?
Absolutely.
Talk about who they are. I mean, these engineers, what's the kind of expertise that you need to work for Kenya Pipeline? How do you develop the talent? How do you retain this talent?
So this is interesting. 1MD, because you said we don't own the product. Kenya Pipeline does not own the product. The product is owned by the oil marketers who did their bid. They did whatever fuel comes to Kenya. Right. So you're the vanguard of all of this. So you store it, you move it, and then there was something else you said. You move it, you store it, and
we handle.
And you handle it.
Yes.
So then how does KPC make money that you can give this big fat chunk of change to the government? How are you able to make money if you're just, moving this product along and you don't own it?
All right. So when you look at the pricing structure, there's a component of Kenya Pipeline. So we charge a tariff, which is regulated by EPRA, the Energy Regulatory Body. And it's about 2 shillings and 58 cents per kilometer.
Okay.
That's how we make our money. So it's a tariff controlled by EPRA, and through our efficiencies and our effectiveness, we are then able to, of course, the big cost is paying our employees. So the bigger the number in terms of the volume that we flow, the better the revenue we make.
Okay, so if we were to really just break this down a little bit.
Yes.
Ndu oil marketers, right?
Yes.
I bring in fuel. Kenya Pipeline brings it for me, but I'm taking it from Mombasa and it's going all the way to Kisumu.
Yes.
So essentially, I'm charged this 2 shillings and 58 cents for the number of kilometers it takes to get from Mombasa to Kisumu for the volume that you're taking for myself. And that is what I pay to KPC. Am I getting it right? Or am I being too...
Yes, so basically the 2 shillings and 58 is per liter.
It's per liter per kilometer. So per liter, not per kilometer.
Per liter per kilometer.
Okay, per liter per kilometer.
Yes,
okay.
And it's not Kenya Pipeline bringing it for you. Today, the product is brought through what we call the G2G, the government-to-government arrangement.
Yes.
Kenya Pipeline is a facilitator. We are basically transporting it on behalf.
Okay.
So we have, with our oil marketers today, we have an agreement. We have the transport and storage agreement that we've signed with them. And it has equity clause. So the treatment we give to our oil marketers, right from the big oil marketers, say Vivo today, we close about 20% market share. So that small oil marketer is the same. The 127 of them signed the same transport and storage agreement. Yes.
Okay. This is interesting because then it makes sense that,
Yes.
you because of the moving of this product and then handling and storing it,
Yes.
then now this is how we can see those big numbers. It kind of makes sense in terms of the shillings. A couple of months ago, actually maybe 3 months ago, we did talk about the fact that, and it's a big number as well, 600 million shillings as a loss, fuel loss, when it comes to the transport. How would there be losses when you're transporting fuel?
Good question. Because of the nature of the products that we operate in, there are 2 types of losses. There's what we call the apparent loss, and there are real losses. Apparent losses is caused because of the nature. As you transport product from low altitude, which is Mombasa, to high altitude, which is Nairobi, you lose the product through evaporation. You lose the product through the measuring equipment. The measuring equipment today give you up to between 0.1 to 0.15% in terms of accuracy levels. Those are apparent losses. We've also had instances of real losses, vandalism within our pipeline network. About 4 or 5 months ago, we had an incident in Kiboko Forest where attempted criminals had attempted to tap our line. So those are real.
Yeah.
Those are what we now call the real losses. They are rare, but they do happen. So those are the 2 major types of losses. In the EPRA formula today, you'll see a line called pipeline losses. And they factor in at the rate of 0.25%. Today, we have an internal target and we target ourselves at 0.06. We stretch ourselves.
Yeah.
Last month, we were able to achieve 0.03. So we endeavor to minimize as much as possible.
Yeah, so that's...
But you won't avoid it because of the nature of the product that you're dealing.
Right. So, I mean, accepting that, you know, even as you've gone through this journey, saying that, look, we know that losses will happen. It's inevitable. But there's a way in which we can actually manage them to keep them at the barest minimum. Is that what we're saying?
Correct. So we've never gotten to the 0.25, for instance. We don't sit pretty to say, since EFRA give us a provision 0.25, then the losses can as well be at that high level. No. We try as much as possible to minimize the losses. And we are, in terms of the real losses, what we are doing, we've invested in big infrastructure. Today we are rolling out what we call the leak detection system and SCADA system that's able to monitor for us our lines at any given time. So we want to leverage more on technology because today's thief has moved away from boots on the ground and they are becoming wiser and wiser every day. And the only way to counter that is by investing in technology. We've also gone into MOU with Kenya Forest, because some of the most vulnerable areas has been the forest. And the other day we signed an MOU with Kenya Forest, and we do hope we want to work very, very closely with them. And also the reason why we have very good relationship with our communities along the pipeline network, so that in the event anything happens, they're able to give us. So we have informers. We have people of goodwill. Kenyans of goodwill were able to tell us there's something happening here.
There's some vandals who are
attempting
into your pipeline.
Yeah, correct.
In all these areas, you talked about right of way.
Yes.
Your pipeline is underground for most parts, but it's passing through, areas where you're saying there's human habitation, there's forests. This right of way, do you own the area where the pipeline passes?
Good question. In some areas we own, in other areas we do what we call easement. So easement is where we sign with the landowner, and the landowner is actually allowed. We have an agreement with them where they're allowed to farm even on top of the pipeline, so long as crops that are not deep, they don't go deep in terms of the routing.
Okay.
So things like maize, they're able to plant, and we've seen that helping us a lot. Because then they're able to preserve. They know there's a pipeline that passes here, but they're still able to, grow their small crops there. So we have easement largely across our pipeline.
How much?
Today, getting a right of way, because it's about 30 meters in most cases. Our forefathers did something very good to be able to build this pipeline in you can imagine 1973. Even the Mombasa Road was not there. And today, getting access or right of way is not an easy thing in Kenya.
So currently, what are you doing? If say you wanted to expand the pipeline and take a certain route, easement is one way that you're going.
Easement is one way.
What kind of lease are you signing with on easement?
So basically, it's just a small agreement to say you are the owner of the land, and we are leasing this land from you for the period of the pipeline.
At a certain fee?
It's not sort of a token.
Who sets the fee?
We do.
Okay, so it's a negotiation between you and the landowner.
Yes.
And you come up. There's no one who comes up with a tariff.
No.
Not
tariff.
National Land Commission that says.
Yes. And if we were to do another pipeline, which we'll do as the growing demand of petroleum products, we still have space within the right of way.
Okay.
As I said, most of it will be a 30 meter. So we can still run another pipe. In fact, the best, we were discussing the other day, part of the regulations into the future for our country will be to have a right of way for the key utilities. You have the pipeline, you have the power lines. That way, it's actually cheaper for the country, and even in terms of the security, because then instead of Kenya Power or Kentraco manning their own power lines and Kenya Pipeline manning their own pipeline, it will be the same security people you're putting in there.
Okay.
So it's something to ponder as a country in terms of how do we ensure that we synchronize all this.
You mentioned the products that you transport:
Yes.
super, diesel, kerosene, jet fuel, no LPG.
Good question. LPG, as we call it, is a transition fuel, and we are going into it. You've heard His Excellency the President talked about he want to provide LPG in terms of gas to a number of people and schools in the coming years. So our role as Kenya Pipeline, together with the private sector, we want to put up the bulk import facility in Mombasa. We acquired, again, this is a government entity, Kenya Petroleum Refineries, in November last year. It's sitting on 377 acres of land in Mombasa. And we want to set up the master plan for Kenya Petroleum Refineries is to be able to set up a trading hub within the facility. So we've set up some piece of land to do the bulk import facility there. Once we have that, we want to move LPG. Today, the market has been concentrated by only one player. And that's why the mama bogas, they can't afford LPG today. If you go to a car cylinder of 6 kg, it's very, very expensive for them. And what His Excellency the President is keen on is to bring down that price, to be able to provide access in terms of LPG to that person in Turkana, in Masain, in Kilifi. And there's a huge ambitious target that we are currently running with, to be able then to support the government to provide access and cylinders to homes, to schools.
When do you think this plan that Kenya Pipeline has, when will it be operationalized?
It's work in progress as you talk, and I'm sure in the coming days and weeks,
we'll get to hear.
Yes.
Two things that puzzle me. I've heard, now this is for you to confirm or deny, that water is used in the cleaning of the passageway that forms the pipeline. Of what use is water in this whole system of yours?
Okay, so every morning, what our team do, they do what's called the training of the tanks. The training of the tanks.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's some, because oil, when they are being refined in a refinery, there's some elements of water. So part of, to a small extent, part of that loss, very, very small drops of it will have water in it. So once we allow the product to settle in our tanks, we are then able to drain the water and remove it. So that's the water you're talking about. Yes. To be able then to give the consumers or our oil marketers pure product. But droplets, they're very, very, but we have a system. We have a system called the oil water separator that is able then to, we're able to drain it each and every morning throughout our installations.
My second question.
Yes.
Given the length of this pipeline, 1,342 kilometers.
Yes.
Is there technology that indicates to Kenya Pipeline when any portion of that pipeline is tampered with? Not necessarily damaged, just is there anything? So someone comes and decides to drill a hole. Do you have technology that indicates to you that your pipeline is actually being interfered with at point this and point the other?
Yes, good question. As I said, we are now moving towards using technology to be able to help us monitor our installations. I'll talk about two big ones. There's one called the SCADA. SCADA is able to give us a bird's-eye overview of what's happening across our installations. We also have the leak detection system. Leak detection system is able to tell within a radius of close to 100 meters if the pipeline is tampered with. And we're in the process of getting what we call the intrusion system. The pipeline intrusion system is able, even a farmer digging, is able to send a signal to say kilometer 400, there's interference. And our people then will be able to check to what extent. So we have those tools, and we're in the process of implementing the pipeline intrusion system, and then at the tail end of the leak detection system, and to be able to help us in a big way, so that we don't do away, but we reduce the hired cars that we have patrolling our right of way, but use more technology to be able to help us through our master control room. Yes.
I mean, we've seen the chronology of how things have happened over the last 50 years. 1973, 63? 73.
Yeah.
And said, okay, gotten to the point whereby essentially the whole nation then, for fuel being handled, being stored, and then being transported, that's happening. At any one time, 10 days worth of fuel is available in the country. So then by then, before anything else happens, at least you would not have the place where the country's at a standstill, literally would not be able to move. So that has progressed over the last 50 years. You've talked about some of this now moving forward. What would then be the plans? You've mentioned a few things that we'd like to do going forward. But what would be the plans in the future to say, look, we'll have a more efficient system. We will have a more we'll have a higher in terms of innovation and technology, in terms of what can actually be done with the storage, handling and delivery of fuel around the country. What are the plans in place that then Kenyans can then look forward to and take advantage of?
In terms of storage, I guess the big one, as you know, today we incur close to, as a country, 500 million US in terms of the consumption of petroleum product, which is huge. We are then looking at how do we use the land that we have in Mombasa, Kenya Petroleum Refineries, to be able to put up huge storage tanks for the country. How do we increase that cover from 10 days to 3 months, 90 days? This will require a lot of collaboration with the international oil marketing companies. And those are, it's part of our master plan to be able to have what I said earlier, the trading hub, to serve not only Kenya, but our region. We are looking at close to about 10, 12 countries, right from, from our close to neighbor Uganda, all the way to DRC, and also from Tanzania, all the way to down south. Yeah.
I wanted to ask a question about traceability. In terms of traceability of product, is Kenya Pipeline Company today able to trace every drop back to where it came from, to be able to look at the processes, then to be able to establish the integrity of the product? Because sometimes people say, well, we got it this way. If I come and I say there was a problem and we say, well, we got it this way from from the pipeline, how are you then able to say, well, look, guys, here is the trace and here is the pipeline, essentially? Are you able to do that?
Yes, we are. So right from the port of origin, as the product is received, the ship docks in Mombasa, we know where it has come from. Before we do anything else, we check the parameters. So the ship will not be allowed to discharge unless we confirm, as Kenya Pipeline, through our laboratory, if they meet the set standards for this country. So that's a very, very important element in terms of the role that we play to enable, for instance, the boiling point, what is called the flash point. For East Africa, it's at 60 degrees. We've taken it at 66 because we are dealing with a multi-product pipeline. So if someone today brings a product at 50 degrees, we're not going to accept it because there are risk implications in terms of even the engine. It can be able to burst. So those are the measures we've taken into account. And we are then able to trace that product from Mombasa all the way to the oil marketer.
Okay.
And the oil marketer then takes it to you as a consumer.
Right.
You go to a little station and fuel your car. So we can be able to tell. If it's off spec, we don't accept it.
You don't accept it from the vessel itself?
From the vessel itself into our pipeline.
Kenya Pipeline is a very lucrative company. It's making money. It's fully owned by the government. Are there conversations taking place at board level, at government level, to float shares of Kenya Pipeline, to privatize Kenya Pipeline?
Not at the moment. And we are basically very busy turning around the company. We just got the good news from the Auditor General that for the last 3 years, the year that ended, we've been able to get unqualified audit opinion, which is incredible. It basically, unqualified means it's a clean bill of health by the auditors, that your books, your systems, your processes, they are in line with expectations.
All the more reason you should allow us to buy shares into this company.
That's a conversation for another day, but we want to make more money for the country.
Finally, as we conclude, I know the last time we had heard is that Kenya Pipeline, Kenya Railways, and the Kenya Ports Authority had all been brought together under ICDC. Are you still under ICDC?
No.
What happened?
It was an initiative from which was undertaken by the previous government.
Yeah.
When this new government came on board, they then removed, and we are reporting to the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum.
Okay.
As Kenya Pipeline.
Okay.
Good.
50 years is a long time. Congratulations, and take the congratulations of our team to your team back there.
Thank you.
There were over 1,000 staff who work there, the engineers, the planners, of course, there are various cadres.
Correct.
I don't know them. Say hi to them. Congratulations.
And ask them to also come and visit us and tell us what they all do, because you have directorates.
Or we'll want you to visit us to appreciate our installation.
We would love to.
We would love to do that.
I'd like to extend the invite.
And come with our camera so we can also
Absolutely. So we
show
plan.
people.
And in closing, sincerely thank you for giving me an opportunity to come and share our story, our remarkable journey of 50 years. For Kenyans out there to know what we do as Kenya Pipeline and the cool things that we continue to do. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Asante.
Good.
This question has been nagging, and there have been several people who have asked it.
Yeah.
Kenya Pipeline runs a fiber optic cable along its pipeline.
Correct.
Is it commercial?
It's not commercial as yet. We have what we call a dark fiber. We're in the process of lighting it, or commercializing it. And in the next 3 years, we should be able to fully commercialize it.
Okay.
Yes.
Indeed, because the Minister for ICT had mentioned that.
Yes.
As part of the government plans on the digital transformation.
Correct.
Joe Sang, Managing Director, Kenya Pipeline Company, has been our guest. It's 8:01.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.